Hi everyone, welcome to this tutorial. Today we are going to build a smart AI powered chatbot designed specifically to capture leads for your services. You have probably noticed that AI chatbots are everywhere these days, on websites, apps, even on social media. But what makes them so powerful? Unlike traditional chatbots that simply follow fixed rules, AI powered chatbots understand natural language. They can engage with your visitors just like a human would, ask right questions, and intelligently guide the conversation based on the user's intent. In this video, we will use ChatGPT or OpenAI APIs to simplify what would otherwise be a complex process. No need for manual intent matching or hard code responses. The AI handles it smoothly for us. By the end of this session, you will have a fully working chatbot that interacts with your website visitors in real time, understands what services they are looking for, and if interested, the chatbot would collect user's name, email, and phone number, the contact details, and neatly stores that information into your database. The best part, with just few customizations, you can easily integrate this chatbot in your website. Use it for your own business needs. Alright then. Before we jump into the code, let's first take a quick look at the high level architecture of the solution so you could understand how all the pieces fit together. As you can see on my screen, we have a user here and we have a web server, a traditional architecture. User interacts with our chatbot on our web server. Web server, in response, communicates with OpenAI APIs. Based on the response received from OpenAI, it will engage the user, and if it finds that the user is looking for the services we have to offer, it will then ask users for the contact details and then store it in the database. Alright, let's get into the coding part. So first I'll open the terminal. Let's create a directory here. Alright, let's open our code editor at this point so that we could straight away jump to the coding part. And here the first interface where our users would land when they visit our website would be the main chat interface. So let's create that. So it's a simple HTML based chat interface. So I have created a basic HTML page which is very simple. It just has one chat box area where our users and our AI assistant chat messages would appear. We have this input box, and then we have a simple button to submit the text data to our server. This is all basic Bootstrap based page, and I have also included the socket.io JavaScript file here, because eventually this chatbot would be utilizing the socket power to send and receive messages from and to the server. If we could open this page at the moment, it will have nothing but just a simple HTML page. Let's see what it looks like. Alright, so this is how our page looks like at the moment. It has nothing, just a heading and the input box as is shown you in the code. Let's go back to the code again. Let's add some styling to it. So I will create a CSS file here. I have added some basic CSS styling to my chatbot code. We will come to this later as to see how it looks like, but if you want to read, you can understand all these things pretty easily. It's very basic. Let me import it in our code here. Alright, let's see if it loads here. Cool. So now you can see I have this chat area where all the messages would appear, and below that we have this simple input box that we already had. All right, at this point let's create some backend code to connect this front end using socket. So I'll create a folder here, backend. Let me go back to our terminal for a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a Python environment here. Okay, let's see what it looks like. So we have this folder here. Let's activate it. And now let's install our required packages. Before we install it, let's just understand what we are trying to do here. We are trying to install FastAPI, which is a popular Python framework for developing APIs and websites also in some cases. This is our server. This is the library for Python socket. We have this library for initializing and interacting with ChatGPT and OpenAI. This is our SQLite database, and this is for asynchronous enabling asynchronous functionalities in our code. Let's just install it. Alright, so our code is installed now. Let's clear this out. Let's move to our editor again. So as you can see, right now we just have one folder here. Let's create Python file here, which is main.py. We will edit this in our code editor. So let's just start importing the package. We will also integrate CORS to prevent any CORS problems. And at this point of time, I think we have enough packages imported in our program to start coding. Let's first initialize our socket server. So what we are going to do is, we will be using ASGI for integrating our socket program. If you don't know about ASGI, so there are two things. One is WSGI, which is WebSocket Gateway Interface, and this one is, I don't know, but maybe it is, I think, asynchronous gateway interface. So asynchronous is primarily used when we want our server to act as a socket server, not as a traditional web server. So if we were building a normal web application, we would be probably using WSGI, but in this case, since we are using socket server, we are using ASGI server. You can read more about it online. For now we will continue our coding. So we will initialize our FastAPI, which is our framework, and then we have this. So what we are doing here is we are creating an application by combining our socket server that we recently created and our Python app that we just initialized, and then we will be using app middleware here. So what it does is, this is to allow CORS request to this server from any origin, from any type of method, with any headers. Now we can initialize our socket events. So what it does is, it listens to the connect event. So whenever someone would land on our chatbot page, it will trigger scripts to connect to this socket server, and once it is connected, I've written this code to print out that the customer or any client has connected to our chatbot, and then in return it will send back a response saying welcome to the server. Let's remove this line for now. let's just build our session here. Alright, now let's add another event that will listen to the disconnect event. So whenever someone would disconnect from our server, we will remove it from our sessions. But it says session is not defined. Okay, let's just define it here on the top. Now the error should go. Alright, so we are pretty much ready with our basic socket server. Let's go back to our front-end code and create one JavaScript file to interact with our socket server. So here we will define a constant socket. Let's change the port. Before we change the port, let's first try and run our backend code. Uvicorn is our web server, as you have already seen. Okay, so it is running on port 8000. So let's go back to our code and change it to port 8000, and then we will write our code here, socket on connect. Okay, so what it will do is, at the moment, it will once get connected to the socket server, it will log this message on our console. Let's first load this file into our code and go back to our web server. Let's open our inspect mode as well, web developer mode, and see if it prints the message. Okay, so it says connected to the server. Very well. Now let's add some logic in our code. Let's first go to the backend and write some real logic. Let's add another event which will get triggered whenever there is a message from the user. So what I will do is async def user message, and it will just print the data here. And before we go here, let us get the session data. And if step is equals to intent, let's just pass it for now and go back to our previous code. So at this point we are only trying to understand what this user is looking for. So how do we do that? So for that we will be implementing our ChatGPT code. So let's create another function here. It will again be an async function. So what it will do is, it will, from the user's message, try and classify what this user is looking for. So classify and detect service. So what it will do is, it will take the user's message as the input and then try to classify what this user is trying to look for. And for that, let's create another variable that is the services that our platform is offering. So let's say if I am offering website design, right? Let's say I am also offering SEO services. I am offering mobile app development. Let's just pick all of them. Let's put all of them in lower caps for better string comparison. And let's come back here in our classify and detect service function. Here what we will do is we will write a ChatGPT prompt. Alright, so this is my ChatGPT prompt. You can read about it if you want to. So it says you are an assistant that identifies the type of services you're looking for, match it to one of the known services. It is now picking the service variable from here. If no match is found, return none, respond with only the service name. Alright, so what it will do is it will help us classify what our visitor is looking for with the help of ChatGPT prompt. Now that our prompt is prepared, let's now initialize our ChatGPT SDK. So we will be using ChatGPT completion API, client chat completions create. All right, so this is our code. So we have our message variable here, and we are using GPT 3.5 turbo model. We are preparing our messages. So first is the system prompt to let the system what it is expected to do, and then we have this user message. So then based on this prompt and user message, it will return some responses to us. Alright, let's just remove them for now. We don't want anything complicated here. And here it is showing some warning. It's because our ChatGPT client is not initialized. OpenAI API key. So I'm gonna fetch my API key from my account, but before that let me also import this. Now I'll put my keys here. So I've placed my key in my code so that it calls the it authenticates itself while calling the OpenAI APIs. You can also find your API keys from your OpenAI account. Remember that it is a credit based calling, so you need to have your account funded with some amount to call these OpenAI APIs. These are very cheap. You can look at the pricing on ChatGPT website. I think for a couple of million tokens it's hardly a few cents. So go ahead, check OpenAI websites and see their current pricing and choose the model accordingly. Right now while I'm recording this video, this ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo is the cheapest one, so I've chosen this one to for the purpose of this video. You can choose your own model. Now I'm now returning the OpenAI response, and I will return this. So right now I'm not doing any comparison at the moment. However, I'm just returning the response received from the OpenAI side. Now I'll go back to my code here again. I will check. Await data, and then I will write some conditions. If service is not equal to none, that means session service equals to service, sessions step collect name. So what this does is, I'm not specifically looking for the service this user is looking for. Rather, I am checking if the service is not none. That means if the service exists in any of our services, then the next step I'm guiding our code for is to collect user's name, right? And then I will respond back through the socket channel emit. It will be a bot message, and then what am I going to respond with? Let's respond with something like great, we can help you with service. What is your name? Let's add the formatter here also. Let's write the else condition also, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to respond with another message that says, I'm sorry, I couldn't identify the service you're looking for, could you please specify, right? And this time again, when the user sends some message, it will again fall in this condition, and this process will be repeated until it finds the correct service. But before we do that, I see an error in my code, and that is I need to find out this specific session from the sessions variable that we had created initially, and this will change session.get, and this one here, all right. Let us see how this looks like on our browser. Okay, before we rerun this script, let's do one more thing. So we want, whenever a user visits our chatbot, we want to greet them with some message. So let's go back to our code, and in this script, let's create a function. So function will look like something like this: text sender. And before we do that, let's mount our HTML divs here. div. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a div here. So our function is ready. What it does is it just, whenever this function is called, it just appends the masses to the chat area we just saw. So as I was saying earlier, let's call this function with a message, hello, I'm your assistant, how can I help you today? Let's go back to our browser and run this code again. Alright, so as we have coded, it says, hello, I'm your assistant, how can I help you today? Let's try to ask something. I am looking for a plumber. Oh, we don't have the submit button here. Let me create one. So I will add this event listener so that we could avoid spaces. If not masses, return. I mean, if there are no masses, there is no point of going any further. But if it has, then we will append this masses first and then call our socket. There is an error. Let me close this. So what it does is it gets the user's masses. If the masses is blank, then it would return blank. Otherwise, it will append the masses and then call our socket server with user masses. We have already seen how it looks like in our backend. So whenever there is this user masses, right, we are trying to check what the user intent is, and if we find it matching with any of our services, then we trigger another intent, another step to collect the user's name, and then further on we can collect the name and phone number as well. Otherwise we just respond back with something like, I'm sorry, I couldn't identify the service you're looking for. Let's go back to the front end again and see if everything is proper. Send button. Looks like things are pretty much set here. Let's try and run this code on our browser. So let me refresh this page and I'll submit the request again. It's not working. Okay, so there is an error as we can see in the console. Let me go back to the code again. Send button is null. Where is our send button? Okay, so it's not button but btn. Let's go back to the browser again, refresh it. The error is gone. Let's submit it. So it got submitted, but we don't have any response from the AI yet, because we don't have written anything to handle when it receives a message from the server. So let's write it. So what we will do is we will write another event which will listen to the bot messages and then call this one again, the append message. So let's go back and let's say I am looking for a plumber. Okay, so as you can see, it says, I'm sorry I couldn't identify the service you were looking for, could you please specify? Why? Because it couldn't identify the service I'm looking for. Let's say if I tell it I am looking for revamping my website. Okay, so as you can see here, it says we can help you with the website design. What's your name? Right? Now let's write further to capture name and other details that we are interested in. So let's go back to our backend code and we will move ahead from here. Alright, so if the step is collect name, then what are we gonna do? We will check if not data dot replace is alpha, please provide a valid name. So what it does is we are trying to validate the data here, which will ensure that the user does not enter anything random or numbers, so we will only allow letters. Let's add it here as well, letters only. And then we have this else condition, session dot name data strip, and then the next step would be to collect the user's email address, and that's what we are returning the users with, right? Now let's go back to the next step. Once we have received the user's email, right? So what we are going to do again here is to add a basic validation, right, to ensure that the user enters a proper and valid email address. And then once we have the email address, then we are moving to the next step, and that is to collect the user's phone number, right? Let's go back to collect the phone number. All right, so what it does again is to remove any spaces and then find if the number entered by the user is a numeric value. If it is not a numeric value, it will then return with a validation error message. Otherwise, it will then store the phone number also. Sorry, it's not storing at the moment, but it's just storing it in the variable right now. It's not in the database yet. Now what we can do is, at this point of time, we can simply tell the user that our team will reach out to you soon, right? Let's try to run this entire program one more time. Let's refresh this. So we have this welcome message. I am looking for redesigning my business mobile app. All right, great. So it has found the detail. Now let's see if I provide my email address. Rakesh, what's your email address? Let's just try to play with it by providing some random information. Rakesh. Okay, it says please provide a valid email address. Now let's say Rakesh at example.com. all right, what's your phone number? So I'll provide my phone number. All right, so it says thank you, our team will reach out to you soon. That means our conversation has ended at the moment. Now if we send any message again, let's see what happens. I am looking for website redesign. So now at this point of time, it's not designed an architecture to handle any further messages. So I mean, but yeah, when we have this basic chatbot ready, now the next step for us is to store this data, the one that we have received here to to our databases. So let's go back to our backend code again. This is the simple stuff, so let's quickly get it over with. So in this folder, let me create another file, that is database.py. I'm gonna write the entire script straight away. This is my code for database handling. Let me now go back to our main.py and initialize this function here, which will call this function to initialize our database. Okay, so we need to import this here from database, import everything. Why is it still showing this? Let's see if we have this. Let me import it separately, although it should work properly, but let me import it explicitly. Alright, so now that we have this information, our database is initialized whenever the program starts or reloads. As you can see, that chatbot.db has been automatically created without us going back to our browser again. So now at this stage, at the phone number stage, what we need to do is, we don't need this step here because that is the end of our conversation. So what we are going to do is, we are going to call our save lead function with the name, email address, phone and service the user is looking for, and then the step is simply done. Let's try and run this script again. So now ideally it should have stored everything in our database. So let's open a new tab and load our database. Now from leads, okay, so as you can see, it has stored the data in our database. At this point of time, as you can see, it is storing the name information as is. Obviously we can again use OpenAI APIs or any other LLM models to extract the name information, specific name information from here. But for the simplicity of this video, let's just believe that this is the user's name that we have got in our database. Alright, so our basic AI enabled chatbot server is ready now. Of course, it is not a production ready system. You might need to implement your own logic to improve this further. Maybe you will need to add it in some iframe or something to have it working with your own technology stack and your website. Usually these chatbots are at the bottom corner of your website, so maybe those things are areas where you will need to work and improve this platform for, but This tutorial till now must have given you the starting point to help you build your own chatbot. So if you encounter any issues or you face any challenges, write in the comment section. I'll try to respond back as soon as possible. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. This will motivate me to continue and keep creating these videos for you. For now, that's all. See you soon in the next video. Bye.